felt like it came out of left field. And then I think a little bit I was hurt as well. I think, I always had her back. And I always kind of stuck beside her kind of when no one else did. And I felt like she was betraying me.
Irina, so in Mexico, you and Zach had decided to end things. And then Paul came up and, you had mentioned that you were kind of interested in him. How did that confrontation with Micah go when you finally got to discuss that?
So I think that was felt like it was a little taken out of context in the sense of like telling Micah that I had feelings for Paul wasn't in the sense of I was going to pursue absolutely anything with him. I know they were very much in love. It was from the sense of I just realized like I had to be honest and true to her of something I said on camera that I'm going to say to her face because she was one of my best friends. And again, I did not want to pursue anything with Paul. I just want to make that like very clear. It was from the sense of like acknowledging that connection I had with Paul and that I didn't have with Zach. And so telling Mike, like, I know that there were some moments where I was like being flirty, obviously a lot of alcohol involved. That wasn't like the best version of me in that moment. And that's not who I am as a person. And moving forward, like I will always be honest and always be true. And me and Mike have had that conversation. We're best friends today. And so we hang all the time. Hopefully the show comes out, we'll stay that way. But there's no bad blood there, speaking on my end. And again, I would never try to pursue or Paul or go behind her back. It was just that one moment that like, I did feel this intimate like not intimate, I would say, but just this connection with him that I wasn't getting with Zach. And it just made me realize what I want in my next relationship. I want to have that instant connection with somebody.
Going back to a bit more drama, you found out that Irina was romantically interested in Paul or had some feelings, and then you got to address that with her. How did that go? And, was your friendship able to recover from that?
Yeah, I think in that moment, I was just really shocked when she told me. It felt like it came out of left field. And then I think a little bit I was hurt as well. I think, I always had her back. And I always kind of stuck beside her kind of when no one else did. And I felt like she was betraying me. But, after being able to talk about it, I felt like she was remorseful. And, people make mistakes. We're all human. And I don't think anyone should be, written off just because of, they expressed their feelings at a really crappy time.
Jackie, midway through the season, we sort of see you go through, a rough patch with Marshall, and you kind of expressed that you're not getting everything that you wanted to get from him. Can you kind of explain what happened there and what you were kind of going through and how you were kind of communicating that with Marshall?
Yeah, so I felt like Marshall wasn't, as I said, boss up more. And I wanted him to be more like firm. I wanted him to be more like, like a boss, like boss up. And he just wasn't doing that. And I kind of just was getting like a little bit irritated because I'm just like, if you're not doing what I need you to do in this relationship, then I am like sacrificing what I want. And then that's sacrificing what you want, which is someone happy. And I wasn't happy. And it kind of just is like a domino effect when someone's not doing what you want them to do or what they need to do in a relationship, it all trickles down. So, yeah.
Marshall, you and Jackie kind of go through this honeymoon phase in Mexico, and then you have you have a big argument once you're living together. She claimed that you weren't man enough and she said some other hurtful things to you. What made you want to keep fighting for your relationship and for Jackie?
I would say, things, I go back to the old staple, sticks and stones, they break your bones, but words really. So I understand that words were said and that words can hurt. However, things aren't going to be perfect in a relationship. That's just how it's cut. Things are going to be said for forever if that's your forever person. So it was definitely a very tumultuous time, very rocky road, but I thought that it was just all signs of progress, growing pains, and I was willing to move forward. I was willing to take those hurtful things to the chin and keep it moving because I've heard those things my entire life, as far as not being man enough and bossing up and all that. I've heard all that stuff. That comes with the territory of being in tune with your feelings, especially presenting very masculine and being in tune with your feelings. Those often don't coexist in our society. And there are just certain people who can't handle that. And that's what I thought. I thought that it was just growing pains. She's going to have to get get used to me, get used to this, and we're going to progress.
And Tiffany, going back to you, you and Brett, I wouldn't say make your relationship look easy, but there's not a whole lot of drama, not from what I've seen up until a certain point. Is there something maybe the cameras didn't see, or one big thing that you did have to overcome in your relationship?
Honestly, it was pretty smooth sailing. There were times where I'm like pinching myself, like, is this real? Like, this can't be happening to me. I would say like the biggest hurdle was trying to understand we live in two different cities. So, having to understand what my life would look like here in Portland. I could work remotely while Brett had to be on site. So it was me making that decision on, okay, can I up and move for someone? And is that the right decision?
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our Narcity channel to see more great content.